Hello Bunny, thank you so much for checking out my first Draw with Bun video. So this is a new little video concept where I want to get together every 2 weeks and draw something together with you guys. And we are using the BunBun art prompt list for September to create our artwork. Grab yourself your art supplies and maybe join in on the fun. And you can find the prompt list on the all-new BunBun Discord server. I'll put a link for you guys in the description below. What is the thing that you guys like to start out drawing? I always start out with the eyes, because if those don't work out, everything else doesn't really matter to me. So those are the ones that I try to get down first. Since we are only going to color this artwork with color pencils today, because all of my Copic markers are kind of dried up, which is upsetting, but I also can't afford to replace all of them. I am trying very hard to just sketch extremely lightly. I think especially if you are a beginner artist to traditional art, you're very heavy-handed and you might press down your pencil a lot, which in return can actually damage the paper. You might not even see it while you are sketching, but once you're starting to color, you will notice that there are small ridges inside the paper. And this is from you actually pressing your pencil down too hard. I think drawing someone while laying down is such a hard thing to do, especially trying to draw hair. So I'm not really sure why I did this to myself, but we do enjoy challenges. On the other hand, this was supposed to be just our little warm-up. So this is for me a quite ambitious project already, but I was thinking that even though I'm drawing a lot of lines right now, especially for the hair, there's not that much that you will see around the corners later, as I want to cover it with clovers. And then also down here at her neckline, there is just not gonna be much from her actual body. I want the whole focus to be on her eyes. Oh, and the 2 spots I decided to add on her face, those are going to become beetles, because that is also one of our prompts. And while I'm not very happy with how it looks right now. I think we're actually going to start in color, because otherwise I feel I'm just going to add way too many lines to this and I will have to remove them later on. So I want to make sure that I start out with the eyes. To actually be drawing traditionally again feels super weird to me. As a kid I was definitely the art child, the one who would rather draw than play outside, the one who was excited to come home from school just to draw more, the one who drew in school while the classes were going on. And I remember when I was in my teens that being a grown-up would be so cool, because then I could draw every single day and I didn't need to do any homework. This could be my life, and the funny thing is it kind of turned out to be this way, but actually being creative is just something I feel like I don't do much anymore. Art has become my career and actually my job, so I don't think there is as much creativity as people think. I like to call it productivity because I'm very much specializing on doing products, and but actually drawing something outside the box is, I guess also because of social media, something that is not really allowed, because it would, I don't know, mess up the aesthetic of my Instagram feed or my Twitter account. People wouldn't know why they are following me. And at the end of the day, BunBun is a brand, and that should be the main focus, and it will continue to be. But especially here on YouTube, I hope we can just sit together from time to time and you can just be like my friend and we can just have fun. And I'm allowed to be a little bit creative again as well. When I was in my late teens and my early 20s, I always had these crazy all-nighters with friends. We were still using a German website a lot, which is called Animex. I don't think there are many active users these days anymore. It was a German equivalent of DeviantArt. I remember me and my friends, we would then hang out on and just talk for hours and draw. That's kind of what I wanted this to become, because I sometimes just miss sitting down with a friend and not looking at the time and just drawing, and it doesn't even matter what you draw, you just, I don't know, have a good time together. I think with me being over 30, having a life, all my friends have busy lives as well. Just something that we don't do as often anymore, or in general, I think life has become so busy for a lot of people. Sitting down with your friends sometimes can be hard. It's easy to say no to something like this if you're just tired or you have other responsibilities. And I feel like this is something that shouldn't die out for me. Back in the day we hung out on Skype. I think Discord wasn't even a thing yet. Discord came into play later on, but yeah, back then it was actually Skype. I also remember that everyone started to have their own Facebook page. Having a Facebook page back then was really, really cool. And you could still find your artist friend, even though we stopped hanging out on our normal German website. We all followed each other on Facebook. And then after Facebook, Instagram kind of came into play as well. But that wasn't too bad yet because, well, you just shared a few photos, maybe a little bit of artwork, and that's it. But then it was also Twitter at the same time. And all of a sudden, when the German art community website we were using kind of died out a little bit, people just spread out a lot. I think it's the same for English-speaking communities. Like, I think DeviantArt was just such a big community art pool back in the day. And then more social media apps kept popping up that people just spread out in different directions. It was really hard to find your friends again. And I still feel this way sometimes. Like, I find people, or people find me often and are like, oh my God, I remember you from back in the day. Not as often anymore, maybe because I changed my username in comparison to back then. But yeah, I still have sometimes people who are like, oh my God, I remember back then. Because it's really hard to keep up with a lot of people. And there's so many artists who also just stop uploading art, which is sad to see. And I guess it just comes with, responsibilities. There is more important things all of a sudden in life. Maybe you also just lost your interest in art. And I guess I understand where people are coming from, because sometimes life just gets in the way. It did for me too. I also just stopped drawing for a couple of years. I guess at some point you sometimes lose sight of your hobbies or find new hobbies. I think that was in 2016 to 2018 where I barely did draw at all. And I also think I didn't miss it back then. Like, I think I was just occupied with other things. Like, back then I did a lot of streaming and I just enjoyed playing video games. And it's a little bit like riding a bike. You kind of don't forget about it, how to do it. You might be a little bit rusty or not as good, can't go as far, but you don't really forget how to ride a bike. I don't know, I also don't think art is necessarily about how everything looks. It's more about what it feels like along the way, like the journey along the way. This sounds super soppy and maybe a little bit too romanticized, but I personally just enjoy creating. Like, the process of creating is the fun part for me about art. Just sitting down with myself or with friends or with you guys and drawing something new. And sometimes while drawing, I don't even know where it takes me, because sometimes I have a really clear idea of what I want to do, and then it just ends up looking totally different in the end, because I make a few changes here and a few changes there. I think some of my most fun art, or the art that I personally enjoy the most, is art where I didn't really know where I wanted to go, and made some changes along the way, and it just turned out really good. Sometimes it can go wrong as well, and then it just ends up looking worse than what you expected, but I think that's just a risk you have to take. I guess with digital art it's also a little bit easier because there is more wiggle room when it comes to changes. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the debate of traditional art is better than digital art, or digital art is better than traditional art. But I actually have a super clear stance on it. And that is that both are difficult, but traditional art is not forgiving. Not nearly as forgiving as digital art. For me, it was really hard to learn digital art because I've always been a traditional artist. So when I started doing digital art, it was just really overwhelming using a program. There's so much guidance and help you can get from this from an art program or an app. If you don't know about the software, those helpful little things, they can't really do much for you. So I remember I just tried to start drawing art digitally like I would do traditionally, and that just didn't work very well. So it took a couple of years to really get the hang of it. And I think the discussion itself is super stupid because there is just what you make of it. And if people online want to tell you, oh, but you did it with an art program and that makes it worse, that's silly, because you can still spend countless hours on it. And the application or the art program is not gonna draw it for you. That's what AI is for, apparently. So I don't think digital art is easier. I enjoyed that at the end of the day I have an original piece. Like, that's really cool. And that's something that digital art simply can't do. And I think there's also certain type of art you just simply can't create traditionally, and some things that you simply can't make digitally. Okay, this is where we're at. I think I'm gonna do all the clovers now. I'm trying to add a lot of color right now, just so I get an overview of what it will look like when it's done. I also really should do the other eye because it just looks weird right now. We are slowly getting to the point where it's starting to look a little bit better and less alien, which is nice because I was a little bit concerned after all that this wouldn't turn out well. It does, however, still take a lot longer than I thought it would, just because it's color pencils. Doing multiple layers always takes so long with color pencils. It's definitely easier to just do the Copic base, as I told you. Maybe I just need to buy some new ones, because I can't do this every time we make these videos. Or maybe I should start trying watercolors. I don't know, which one is your favorite medium, because I actually can't draw with watercolors at all. I have tried it once or twice maybe, but I've never really used it as a proper medium. It's just more, oh, I tested around a little bit and it felt really weird to me. And I guess if I would give it another try and practice a little bit more, it would be fine, but liquid mediums are just not for me. Everything like watercolors, gouache, acrylics, oil paint, those are all really, really hard mediums for me. The ones that work much better for me are color pencils and alcohol markers. I also really like Posca pens. I don't even know what they are considered. I assume they are water-based, but I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, that's more for me. I also really enjoy using crayons. There is some really good crayon brands these days. And also chalk, is that how you say it in English? Like this really dry stuff. That's really fun to use as well. But I would love to hear what you guys like, because I do know a lot of people, when they draw traditional, they swear by watercolors. I can't control the paint very well, but I see other people do it and they are so talented. I also want to once again applaud myself for my absolute amazing time management skills, because I thought, okay, we're gonna do this every 2 weeks. It's just gonna be a fun little thing. This took forever. But I don't think I'm gonna render the whole artwork. I don't think I'm gonna put details on everything, because then this is gonna take double the amount of time. I think I'm just gonna make sure that the hair looks a little bit better, and maybe make sure that the clover leaves actually look like clovers. If I take this much time every time I want to do this, you're not gonna get many videos. I'm also a little bit sad because I didn't end up going as much with the theme as I wanted to. So what I want to include from the art prompt was beetle, forest, and I think it was wind. Yeah, the wind is already gone. Was supposed to be seen in her hair a little bit more because it's, I don't know, a little bit more flowy, but it kind of doesn't work when she is on the ground, or if there's a lot of clovers around. I don't know, it just doesn't work as I intended. So yeah, we actually ended up with beetles and forest, and I don't even think the forest theme is very good because I don't know if clovers grow in forests. I made my own challenge and I'm the first one who was really bad at it. I obviously want everyone to be able to do their own interpretations, and I do that too, I guess. So don't feel like you have to pick multiple things. Just pick the one that you want and feel comfortable with. And honestly, if it ends up looking like something else, that doesn't really matter. I think this is more about getting started. I would never critique anyone for not doing the art prompt correctly. I think I'm just critiquing myself because I think I could have done a little bit better. I think I just made the executive decision that I'm not gonna try to put more details into the clovers because there's so many of them. It's gonna take me forever. I honestly do believe, I think I'm going to stop around here. Yeah, I think we're basically done. There's probably some more you could get out of this artwork, but I'm already not too happy with it, and I don't know how much more time I want to spend on it to improve it. This already took me at least 6 hours. The video is probably gonna be much shorter, I hope so. I think the reason why I do not like it as much is probably because it looks very static. I personally like very dynamic pictures. Even if you do have poses that are maybe like sitting down or just standing, which are not very dynamic, I really like to do hair in the wind, which looks dynamic. I also really love clothing that moves a lot, and we don't have much of those elements in this picture. It's also drawn in a frontal view where you can see the character straight on, which I also feel like kind of takes away from it looking dynamic. So that's just what I feel and think. But the process of drawing this was actually so much fun. So this will be our end result for our first draw with BunBun. Overall, it's a nice picture. I think if you're further away, it actually looks really good. Maybe I'm criticizing myself too much. It looks fine. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you like the idea of doing videos like that. I hope you were also able to draw something along. Feel free to share it on the BunBun Discord server or use the hashtag and post it on Instagram. I would love to see what you guys came up with. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you next time. Bye bye.